We are live and on the air. Welcome in to Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. It is our first live off-season show of 2023, as we have a lot to talk about coming up. And as you guys file in, I see 24 people watching already. Let me know, who should the Seahawks draft with the number 5 overall pick that they have courtesy of the Denver Broncos? Chime in the comment section as you guys get here and as your friends get here, and let us know who you think they should take with that number 5 pick, because today I am going to deliver my first mock draft of 2023 for the Seattle Seahawks. We will get to that coming up later on in the show. Also, Richard Sherman suggests that the Seahawks could potentially trade Geno Smith for Lamar Jackson. We'll dive into that. We also have 2 mailbags as well coming up on the show. I see Love says Seattle getting Anthony Richardson from Florida. God, I hope they're not going to take him at number 5 overall. Nicholas says, hell no on Lamar. We don't need him at all. Let's see. Raymond says, we don't need no more Broncos. Lamar doesn't play for the Broncos last time I checked, but okay. And Nicholas says we need defense. True. And I have some guys that we'll bring up in my mock draft of who they should look at. Who should they draft at number 5? Troy says defensive line. Nicholas says defense there. What do you guys think? Who should the Seahawks draft with that number 5 overall pick? The mock draft we'll get to coming up in just a bit, and you might be surprised who I have the Seahawks taking with that said number 5 pick. Also chime in the comment section. What position group should most improve for Seattle? What do you guys think as the season is now over? Obviously, we look at the defense and what the Seahawks need to do with that defense. But what particular position group with the defense needs to improve? What comes to mind? For me, it's where they were weakest was getting beat in the run defense at the line of scrimmage. And you got to improve that defensive line, that pass rush, those guys, the edge rushers and the defensive tackles. That's what I'm looking for. This Seahawks team has a great foundation set up. You also need help with the interior of the offensive line. If you can beef up the offensive and defensive line, watch out. Let's see what they can potentially do. That's my answer. That's what I'm looking for, what needs the most improvement. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. Duke says Lamar is better than Geno. 11 Knights says, I think Jalen Carter at 5. Lulu says, hell no, we ain't trading Geno for Lamar or any quarterback. Blake Howard says, I mean, Lamar wouldn't be too bad. That offense would be intense. Duke says, get defense from the free agent. Travis says, hell yes on Lamar. Geno has proven nothing. I see Book says, if Will and Jalen Carter not there, or CJ or Miles Murphy from Clemson. Mark Sanchez in the chat says Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. If not there, then trade down. Mark, good to see you here today, my guy. Blake Howard says, I'm hoping Will Anderson, but that's not likely to happen. Realistically, I'm hoping for Murphy or Carter. Let's see. All Things Bengals is getting a little feisty in the chat, I see. Matthew says rather trade for Justin Herbert. I don't think the Chargers are looking to trade Justin Herbert potentially, but we'll see. We're asking you in our poll right now, trade Geno for Lamar Jackson. Those questions being asked there, as Richard Sherman was the one that brought that up. We'll give you full context of what Richard Sherman had to say about the idea of potentially trading Geno for Lamar coming up in just a bit. Lulu says defense needs work at strong safety, linebacker, cornerback, I think. By the way, since we've been talking about QBs today with Lamar Jackson of the trade rumors, what about in the draft? Who is the best quarterback in this year's draft class? Who comes to mind? For me, my answer is Bryce Young, and I say that without doubt, without question. What he did this past year to carry that Alabama team, if they didn't have Bryce Young, they would have been a lot worse this year. To me, he got the most out of that team possible. Even though they lost 2 games at Alabama, I was very impressed, and, of course, he won a Heisman Trophy. Will Levis, I was a little disappointed in this year in what was supposed to be a year with expectations at Kentucky. C.J. Stroud, tremendous talent, all the ability, but I felt like he disappointed to an extent. Did not win the big games he possibly should have. Jeremy Chuggs is in the house with me today as well.
Heyo.
Jeremy, let's start with you. Who do you think is the best quarterback in this year's draft class?
It's hard because I've gotten burned on this before. I mean, maybe I didn't. I did not like Kyler Murray coming out in the draft. I thought he should have gone baseball. I was like, this guy, 5'10", 5'11", maybe he's going to get destroyed.
You're a big Dwayne Haskins guy?
No, not quite. But, Mark Sanchez. We're going to get to that in just a moment.
With a very humble $5 super chat for Mark Sanchez. We haven't gotten to the super chat menu yet.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll show that here in just a second.
But I feel the same way about Bryce Young. I don't know.
Book says Bryce Young, bro, different, just short. Yeah, he's a little undersized, but he's got everything else working out for him.
But
Nicholas says only quarterback we should be talking about is Geno. Hell no, on Young's, he's too short. Stroud would be a bust. Nicholas is coming in loud in the chat today with the all caps and everything.
All caps.
Matthew with the all caps, too, says Seahawks draft Stetson Bennett in the 4th.
Yeah.
No. We're not wasting time on Stetson freaking Bennett.
I don't know. He looked good.
He's like old enough to be Jeremy and I's dad at this point. No. I'm not drafting, 40-year-old quarterbacks with 4th-round picks. But nonetheless, all things Bengals says Bears would want Metcalf or Lockett. We ain't getting the number 1 pick.
This was a good question by Mark. What would it take to trade up to 1, 2, or 3? I mean,
take the 20 pick.
You're at 5. I don't know if you need the 20 pick just because they're only going down. I mean, if you trade up to 1, you're definitely throwing in the 20 and maybe a 4th or 3rd rounder. 2 or 3, I'm just not sure. I don't know if the Texans would trade back unless their top quarterback gets taken first and they don't like the other guys.
Right.
I think the Texans are staying pat. 3, the Cardinals, that might be where you can move up.
In the division, though,
Yeah. They're married to Kyler Murray, but I think they might try to fleece you if they do trade back to 5 with you.
The thing I wonder, Mark, it's a very good question, but what I would counter that with a question is, why do you want to trade up? I feel really good about that spot at 5, personally. I think that you look at this draft, and my personal top 5 players, in no particular order, are Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and then that number 5 spot, I'd go Brian Bresee. And
Bresee, a little high.
Or not Brian Bresee, sorry.
Miles Murphy?
Miles Murphy. Thank you for correcting me on that. I go Miles Murphy at 5. Yeah, Brian Bresee would be very high at that spot.
Breese's good.
He is good. He could be available at 20.
He's one of the top defensive tackles in the draft, but
Right. But Miles Murphy, thanks for correcting me on that. And I feel like if you're at 5, you end up with one of those 5, and you're in good shape. So Mark says to secure Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. I get that, but I like the idea of still getting another player at 22.
I don't hate it if you're trying to get Will Anderson just because I think he can be, we've seen the 49ers with Nick Bosa, some of these teams that have really dynamic young pass rushers has, vaulted them and made them even that much better. Even Jalen Carter, he kind of reminds me of that, who's that other cat that the Seahawks have inside? He's the 3 tech, plays next to Bosa.
Armstead, yeah.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Eric Armstead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get to see that. Who is the best quarterback in this draft class? Seems like the consensus in the chat is Bryce Young. For the
Matthew
most part.
Belmont, real talk.
$5 super chat. That means we owe the DK song. Let's go ahead and show the super chat menu. It's happy hour here on Seahawks Today.
It's always happy hour when you're on Seahawks.
It is. It's always a happy time. Even with the season over, I am so excited about this offseason. And I have this mock draft that I'm going to get to. You guys have been asking me for 2 or 3 months, can we get a mock draft? And I'm like, damn it, not yet. Let the season finish. We don't even know where they're going to pick yet. Let's enjoy the season. They were making a playoff push. And so now, I still even think it's a little early for this mock draft, but I will give it to you today.
Look, I like
Tyree
Wilson.
Draft.
Book says Tyree Wilson, I watched some tape on him. He's got a high motor. Could be a really good edge. If the Seahawks do plan to trade back anywhere from like the 8 to 12 to 15 range, that could be a player to look at if you're the Seahawks, if you're trying to trade back a little bit.
Yeah, happy hour today. Any super chat is a shout out. $2, ask us anything. $5, we sing the DK song. $10, we take a shot. Got the fireball in hand and ready to go. $150, we take down the boot. Mark with the first super chat.
Every super chat, I'll eat a Nerds cluster.
They are very good. In fact, I'll have some too. And we got to sing the DK song. Our first of the day, courtesy of Mark Sanchez. And he looked great the other night, by the way.
Mark did.
No, Mark did. I'm sure Mark looked great. But DK, real quick, before we get to the DK song, I'll say this. The Seahawks, they were overmatched by San Fran, but I was very impressed. The offense did about as well as they could have realistically. That was one of the best games of DK's career. I loved what I saw from him there.
Ready?
1, 2, 3. Chomping, carols chomping, Geno passes, no one stopping. DK, touchdowns all day, he rules.
And speaking of super chats, either use hashtag Seahawks or super chat to get on the show. We have 2 mailbags coming up today. I see a bunch of questions. Seattle sports fan has some good thoughts. If you have a thought or question that you want us to look at, want to get on the show, put hashtag Seahawks in your comment, because I agree with Seattle sports fan. If somehow you could get Jalen Carter and Brian Breesy in the first round, that would be an insane start to the interior of your defensive line and getting that D-line rebuilt.
Those nerds are like crack.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I would know what crack is like.
Those nerds are like crack. Not that I've had it.
All right, first segment, news and rumors. We'll tell you all about this Lamar Jackson stuff that Richard Sherman had to say.
We can't get to any of that, though, Tyler.
No, we got to like the video.
We don't have enough likes.
We are at 8 likes right now, which is kind of pathetic, to be honest. I'm putting a minute on the clock. If we get to, let's say, 25, I'm being a little generous. I'm feeling good today.
A little free shot ski?
If we get to 25 likes, we start the show, and I'll take a shot. How about that? Simple as that.
Little free shot ski.
So smash that like button. Get to 25. I'm taking a shot,
Absolutely.
And we're starting the show.
Destroy the like button. Go down there, punch it, hit it, smack it around,
make it your bitch.
Oh! TJ. Teaser.
We're at 14. I need 11 more of you to start this show and to take a shot. Who is going to get the job done?
See, Blake Howard, great question. You got to put hashtag Seahawks in there so we can put it on the show.
Oh, man. See, there we go, Blake. Golf clap. Matthew's got the right idea. Smash that like button.
Heck yeah.
Matthew likes to smash the like button. That's what I was talking about, the like button.
Of course.
Yeah. 4 more likes away. I'll take a shot, and we'll begin today's show. Coming up, news and rumors, as Richard Sherman weighed in on the Seahawks quarterback situation, says that they need to consider trading for Lamar Jackson. We'll dive into that. Also, a live Q&A rumors mailbag, not 1 but 2, and I have my first Seahawks mock draft of the year. Looks like that we are just about at 25 likes, so quick shot, and then we'll get started with the show here today Jeremy, as I get to pour in here, off-season, I know that the season's over, but I got to tell you, I just feel optimistic. I know doesn't feel like a typical end of the season.
If I told you before the season that the Seahawks lost in the wild card round, you'd be like, what are you smoking?
Right.
The Seahawks were the consensus to have the number 1 overall pick. If I told you the Seahawks had pick 5 and pick 20, you'd be like, damn, the Broncos lost in the wild card round. At least we got that first rounder for Russell Wilson.
Right.
If I told you that was switched, I mean, come on. Oh, my God. We got a Niners fan in the chat. F-Niners in the chat.
Yeah, F-Niners.
F-49, F-Niners. Get this
I got to tell you,
here.
it is miserable that either the Niners or Cowboys will be in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the Niners.
Thank you, Samuel. Samuel Brown checking.
It's Shmuel.
Shmuel. Is that the French way to say it?
It's the Hebrew way to say
The
it.
Hebrew way to say it. All right. News and rumors time here on Seahawks Today.
I think the French way to say Sam's name is Hon.
Oh.
That's the French way to say everything.
All right, let's get into today's show. News rumors coming up first. You ready, Tyler?
I think so.
Let's get it.
Welcome in to Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. On today's show, we have the latest Seattle Seahawks news and rumors, including the possibility of trading for Lamar Jackson. Yes. Seahawks great Richard Sherman has talked about this possibility. We'll tell you what he had to say and examine it. Also, Pete Carroll humbled himself a bit, admitted to some mistakes made. We'll tell you what he had to say. Also, the Seahawks are already beginning their offseason with some signings for the future. Going back to the future, that is. We'll tell you what those are in just a few moments from right now. Got a trivia question to begin the show, though. Can you tell me the first player the Seahawks traded in franchise history? Who was the first player they traded for? Let me know in the comments section if you can figure out who this player is, and if not, we'll tell you at the end of today's show. We begin today with the idea of trading Geno Smith for Lamar Jackson. Could that be possible? There's been rumblings in Baltimore over the last couple of weeks with how the Ravens season ended with Lamar not coming back from injury. He did not travel with the team for their wild card game against the Bengals. And then on top of that, the contract that he never got the extension for, never could agree to terms this past offseason. And most recently, he scrubbed the Ravens from his social media. Now, Richard Sherman, former Seahawk great, and now he's with Amazon and also with Colin Cowherd's podcast network, has made a name for himself as a pundit of sorts, discussed the possibility this week of trading Geno for Lamar Jackson. Both players, their contracts are up, so in theory, they would both be franchise tagged in order to make this trade happen. And so with that, franchising both players, and then they would kind of have to agree that a contract extension would be agreed upon when a trade would be made. So what would a trade potentially look like involving Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith? Well, my partner in crime here, Jeremy Chuggs, has gone to the trade machine, and this is what Chuggs put together as a potential trade package for both sides. The Seahawks get Lamar and a fifth-round pick in 2024, and the Ravens then receive Geno as well as the fifth overall pick, and then a 2024 first-round pick and 2024 second-round pick. And what's worth noting here is that in this case, the Seahawks end up keeping the 20th overall pick in this year's draft. They don't have to give up the number 20 overall pick, but have to give up the number 5 overall pick. So interesting that the way things work out. Obviously, Lamar Jackson would have to get paid a lot more money, too. You're not just giving up draft capital, you're also giving up some salary. So tell me what you think about this. Screenshot this trade graphic and tweet me at Tyler Jones Live. You see my Twitter feed right there. and let me know if you would like to make this trade or not. And if you're not on Twitter, that's okay too. Get in the comments section and tell me, would you make the trade? What you see, what Jeremy Chuggs has put together. Lamar and a 5th-round pick in 2024, and the Ravens get Geno, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 first and second-round pick. Y for yes, in for no. What do you think of the trade? Now, as far as what I think of this trade idea goes, that's a lot for a guy who hasn't been reliable. Remember, Lamar Jackson has not been available for 2 straight seasons at the very end of the year. He's missed 5 games at the end of 2022 and the end of 2021. When he has been out there, when he's been available, I think Lamar Jackson is arguably the most explosive player in the National Football League. But the Ravens can't count on him, and he wants a lot of guaranteed money. You can see the statistics have been good over the years. 43 touchdowns in 2019, 33 in 2020. Comparably speaking, Geno Smith, though, is coming off a career year, a Pro Bowl caliber year where he had a near 70% completion percentage, the highest in the NFL, along with 30 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Do you really want to pay a whole lot more in a guy like Lamar Jackson that is younger but hasn't been reliable, and then go forward with that? To me, there's some serious questions if you want to make that. I lean towards no, personally. As much as I like Lamar, the Seahawks are in a good spot here with Geno Smith. Now, remember this. Pete Carroll did say Geno was their guy in 2023. That's according to Greg Bell, who covers the Seahawks there in Tacoma. But I've heard something like this before. That's right. Pete Carroll said the same thing about Russell Wilson, that he was their guy, and they were committed to him. So what do words really mean at this point, essentially, from Pete Carroll? So something to think about. We'll see if things work out this way and monitor it here on Seahawks Today. Now, here on the channel, Pete Carroll admits that he made a mistake. We'll tell you what that was in just a few moments from right now. Before we do, today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. You can go to chatsports.com/bet and get your bets in now. The season is over for the Seahawks, but that doesn't mean that your chances of winning money are over either. You can bet on the remaining NFL playoff games, college basketball, the NBA, and more. It's all in one place, chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Seahawks125 for a 125% deposit bonus. So Pete Carroll, his mistake that he made going back to the 49ers game and this season, Pete Carroll admitted that he misused Puna Ford, and we'll explain exactly what he had to say. This is courtesy of Greg Bell. Pete Carroll says Seahawks overused Puna Ford on the defensive line. He likes Ford over the center at nose tackle. They played him more outside as a 3 technique, even 5 tech. I think we wore him down. Expect Ford back over the nose, among other changes to the defensive line and run D in 2023. And, you look at the numbers here from Puna Ford, and the difference isn't really that huge from 2021 to 2022. You can see he had 53 tackles in 2021 compared to 35 in 2022. But TFLs were the same. Sacks were actually up. Pass breakups were up. And quarterback hits were up. So, it's interesting to see that on those numbers there when it comes to Puna Ford in that regard. Now, Ford didn't provide anything. Not a thing at all in that playoff game. And I know there's no stats, even though he played at about 52% of snaps in that game. But you could tell that he was worn down of some sorts, that he wasn't the same player. As things look ahead to 2023 with this team and the changes that need to occur, I think priority, arguably number one, is this defensive line has to drastically improve this offseason. that you need more rotational players. You need to be able to stop the run. You need to get a pass rush going. There's got to be changes because what we saw in 2022 with this defensive line was not good enough. And it's not all on Puna Ford. It's a collective effort that we're talking about here. This team has a lot of potential. There's a bright future in Seattle. But what we saw this year on that defensive line for the future of this franchise and where they want to go, that's not good enough. We should not be content or settle with what we saw from that defensive line. Get your votes in. What position group for Seattle needs the most improvement? You could make a strong case for the defensive line. You could talk about a number of position groups, but what is it to you that you believe needs the most attention here this offseason? Let me know in the comments section. Tell me what you think needs the most improvement in 2023 on that front. A look at the future contracts for Seattle. A couple players that they signed. As you can see, these future deals keep some players around, practice squad players, borderline 53-man roster guys. A couple notables in particular. Kay Johnson, who we saw get some playing time there at the end of the season. He was in the playoff game. He's a notable one. Also, Darwin Thompson, of course, somebody that won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, who's been on an active roster before. Just a few names to keep in mind. 10 players total that the Seahawks have signed to those future contracts. Also of note on today's show, Seahawks Kenneth Walker and Tariq Woolen are both finalists for the Pepsi Rookie of the Year honors. You can vote for them. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. A big honor. And, you know, I'm more of a Dr. Pepper guy personally, but if these guys win the Rookie of the Year, I might have to start drinking a lot of Pepsi based on the opportunity that they have here. Both of them had fantastic years, and it would be well-deserved if they can find a way to win those awards. We already know Tariq Woolen's going to be in the Pro Bowl this year. Would love to see if Kenneth Walker III can also get recognized. Get your votes in for these guys. Help show some support. Show these young guys some love as they move forward here in 2023. Before we go, final note here on today's show. We asked you at the top of the show, who was the first player the Seahawks traded for in franchise history? Here's your last chance to get your votes in before we reveal the answer. The answer to that question is Steve Largent. The great out of the University of Tulsa was traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And producer Chugs is telling me that he was reminding me, who was he traded from? From the Oilers, the Houston Oilers. That's correct. That's who he was traded from. Ultimately to the Seahawks is the answer to that question. We are your off-season headquarters here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe to the channel now for the latest happenings on your favorite team. We got you covered. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and we'll see you next time here on the channel. Okay. What do you guys think? Seahawks are out of the playoffs, and now we get to sit here just to kick back and watch everyone else play. What's the best divisional round game? Is it Eagles-Giants, Bills-Bengals, 49ers-Cowboys, or Chiefs versus Jags? And if you like Eagles-Giants best, type 1. If you're going Niners-Cowboys, type 2. Bills-Bengals 3, Chiefs-Jags 4. Let us know what you guys think the answer to that question is. What did Seigan say?
Seigan was flexing in the chat that he got it right, and then he got it wrong.
And then he got it wrong. Oh, no, Seigan. Let's see. And Nicholas is questioning our answer.
Not from two different websites I looked up.
Nicholas, you might have to go into a debate with Jeremy Chugs on that one. Chugs and Nicholas in a little battle here on this answer.
It was the year that they were an expansion franchise in the offseason. They traded for Steve Largent from the Houston Oilers.
Let's see. So we got a little Big J battle between Jeremy and Nick here on the answer to that trivia question. Mark, I see your super chat. Hold on just 1 second. We'll get to that here. Best divisional round game, Eagles, Giants, 49ers, Cowboys, Bills, Bengals, or Chiefs, Jags. Let's see. Nicholas says, no, you all better look it up, guys. I Googled it. Mark.
Send the link.
Okay. Interesting.
Let us know.
Let us know here. All right. Best divisional round game for me. I got like a two-part answer here, Jeremy. 49ers, I think, is the best. 49ers, Cowboys is the best NFC game. I think that could go either way. I lean towards the 49ers. Bills, Bengals. We were supposed to see that game a couple weeks ago. Obviously, some unfortunate circumstances with DeMar Hamlin stopped that game, and rightfully so. Thought that game. Oh, Nick, that's not what we asked. Nick, we asked who was the first player traded, not drafted.
Oh, I deserve an apology.
Nick,
I deserve.
were you not listening? Nick, come on now. That's the question.
You were trying to call me out.
Wow.
I was wrong.
And it was Nick.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Mikey says first player they traded for. Yes. And Nick admits I'm wrong. You know what? That wouldn't usually that would deserve an F Nick in the chat, but I feel nice today.
No.
We're not going to do that.
He admitted he was wrong. No harm, no foul. We're all good.
It's all good.
We're
all good, Nick.
Mark, we're going to hit this in the mailbag as well, but just got to hit it now. That's what happens when the D is hybrid. Pick a base and stick with it. I believe he's talking about Puna Ford.
Yes.
We want to be aggressive and cover our backers, but we simply don't have the horses. But this draft is what a word. Is saturated.
Saturated.
D-line talent. I'm going to steal that, Mark.
Saturated.
This
is
draft
saturated
is
with D-line talent.
absolutely saturated.
I got to take 2 shots for that now.
And start
Thank
getting
you,
your
Nick,
questions
for that. Or thank you, Mark, for that super chat. And Nick, I'm glad that you and Chugs figured things out there.
That's 2 shots. If you want to pour me up, do you have another shot glass over there?
Yeah.
If you want to pour me up a little shot ski?
Yeah, me and Chugs will start the party. That is the super chat menu. It's happy hour here on Seahawks today. Mark with that $20 super chat. That puts us at about
pour
20.
me a double.
There you go. Puts us at $25 in super chats. That means we are $125 away from Das Boot. Every $10 we're taking a shot. Every $5 we sing the DK song. $2 you can ask me or Jeremy Chugs anything in any super chat. Get you a shout out. Get you right on screen on today's show. Cheers. Nick says, I'm sorry, Chugs.
You're all good, buddy. You're all good.
That's all good. We're having a good time today, no matter what. All right. If Wayne says Chugs and TJ are warming up, hey.
Oh, yeah.
We're just getting started.
Right.
We're just one segment in.
Guys, let's get those questions in. Last chance to get your questions in using hashtag Seahawks, or you can super chat just like Mark Sanchez did.
Yes.
And get your questions on the show. We're about to answer questions for about 10, 12 minutes before we get into Tyler's first mock draft of the offseason. You're all good, Nicholas. You're all good.
It's all good.
I was just worried. I wanted you to send the link just in case because I didn't want to put out the video if I was wrong.
Right.
Then I'm the one with pie on my face. Because I'm the one that told Tyler let's do trivia today.
That was Chugs' trivia question.
Fun fact, I'm in a trivia league. Huge game tonight against one of our coworkers, Matthew Peterson. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, let's see. Nicholas says we only are having a good time if no more Niners fans show up. Real quick, by the way, we got distracted with answering that trivia question. We didn't get to really talk about those games coming up.
Oh, yeah.
In AFC, I think Bills and Bengals is going to be a shootout. Could come down to who has the ball.
Pick your winners.
I'm going with the Bills.
Bills over Bengals. I'm going Bengals over Bills.
Okay.
I think that offense and Joe Burrow, whenever he gets clicking, whenever there's a connection, that offense is very hard to stop.
I didn't like what I saw from the Bengals last week.
Yeah.
They did not move the football like I thought they should.
That's fair. That's fair. I just don't know if I trust the Bills' defense, especially with how they let Skylar Thompson back into that game.
Right. That's true.
Next one.
Cowboys, Niners.
Well, I was going to say, sticking in the AFC, we got Chiefs, Jags.
And Jags.
Who you got in that one?
I got the Chiefs big.
I got
think
the
the
Jags.
Jags have had We're going with the Jags?
I'm going upset.
What?
I'm going Jags. We're going to have a Jags-Bengals AFC
No.
championship.
The Jags are not winning that game. My God, Jeremy, no.
I'm going Jags-Bengals. That's what
I
I
think
got.
I think the Chiefs are going to throw down in that game and win by 2 scores.
Blake Howard, I agree. Chase going for 115 and 2 TDs in that game.
Okay. NFC.
Cowboys, 49ers. Who you got?
I got the 49ers in a close one. I think that's going to be a very, very good football game. That, to me, I think is the best NFC game. I think the Bengals and the Bills is the best AFC game.
Who did you have winning that one?
I got the 49ers.
I got the Cowboys.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And then the final game, the Giants and the Eagles.
I got the Birds.
I like the Eagles
Yeah.
in that game. Giants don't have enough on offense.
So I got Cowboys, Eagles in the NFC, Jags, Bengals, and then I got Bengals, Eagles.
And I went chalk. I went with the favorites. I went with Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, and 49ers.
I read the super chat at first. I thought it said if there's a 6 hooker.
I thought that too. Mark with a $20 super chat. If he's there at 6th hooker, the 6th hooker. Great arm, attitude, athletic. I understand he's coming off ACL tear, but he could sit a year and definitely we'll see in his
Let's go ahead and get into this mailbag. We're going to have Mark, I'm going to space out your questions so it's not just all you at the beginning, but we're going to answer all your super chat questions in the mailbag.
We can pay off those shots right now, though.
Yep. Don't pour me a double. I'm trying to.
You're trying to take it easy.
Yeah.
Mark says Eagles Bills Super Bowl. If he's there at 6th, does he mean 6th round?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if he's available in the 6th round, we'll dive into that. But that would be awesome, actually, because I think that prior to the injury, he could have been a first-round quarterback. I think even with the injury, Hendon Hooker could be a second-round piece.
Yeah.
But we'll take these shots for our buddy Mark, and then we'll get started with our news and rumors mailbag here. Send in your questions using the hashtag Super Seahawks or Super Chat. Skip the line.
Is Texar?
Yes. All right. Here we go. Y'all ready?
Right.
Let's do this thing.
Let's shake it.
Let's shake it.
You ready?
Let's go.
Oh, wait. I didn't take my shot.
Oh, there's Jeremy's shot. Thank you, Mark.
Whew.
Mark says, I agree, TJ. Okay, Mark, I'll expand upon that here in just a second.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
You got questions, I got answers. Welcome into our first postseason mailbag edition of Seahawks Today, where we will be talking all about the offseason. Whatever questions you have, I will answer them. We can even look back on the season that was. Let me know in the comment section using the hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the show. This is a part of our live show edition of Seahawks Today. And you may be wondering, well, how do I be a part of that? Well, we go live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And if you subscribe to the channel, then you're never going to miss a moment of Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. You ain't alive if you ain't subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed and all your fellow Seahawk fans are, because we have a hell of an offseason ahead here on the channel. Subscribe now, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. The GOAT, Mark Sanchez, writes in, if he's there at 6th, Hendon Hooker, great arm, attitude, athletic. I understand he's coming off an ACL tear, but he could sit for a year definitely, and we'll see him in his second year. So here's what I have interesting on this, Mark Sanchez. Let me break this down piece by piece. Hendon Hooker was on his way to winning the Heisman Trophy and potentially taking Tennessee to the college football playoff before he got hurt. And before he got hurt, he was skyrocketing up draft boards, getting to about a first-round grade potentially, and then had the ACL tear. I think that he could still go second round, potentially, even with the ACL tear in sitting out all of this next year. If he's available in the 6th, hell yeah, you take him. If he is available in the 4th or 5th, maybe you even consider that. I like Hendon Hooker. He was going to be a project anyway. He's an older quarterback and, adapting to an NFL system compared to what he was doing under Josh Heupel at Tennessee. But, yeah, if he's available in the 6th, I don't even think you think twice about bringing in Hendon Hooker potentially. Blake Howard writes in, #Seahawks. Would Bresee at 20th be considered the move? I think so. Brian Bresee would be a very good pickup for the Seahawks there at that 20th spot. To me, he's got a lot of potential, a lot of talent that he brings to the table. I think they'd be thrilled if he made his way to Seattle, if they could get him at that 20th spot. And he's a guy that, we still have the combine and we still have all these different, all-star games of sorts over the next few weeks. He's somebody that I think could find his way moving up boards here in the next few weeks as far as I'm concerned. Next question from The Great. Aegon The Great. I've heard some people have Will Levis as the best quarterback in this draft. Your thoughts? #Seahawks. So some people would be Mel Kiper, actually. Mel Kiper Jr. Of ESPN has Will Levis as the number one quarterback in this draft. And I think that's actually ridiculous. Will Levis, I was disappointed in. I did not think he was that great this past season. I was disappointed in what Will Levis did in 2022. And that Kentucky team was not as good as they should have been. Will Levis was very inconsistent. He's got all the raw tools. He's a good runner, good passer, good arm. He's got all of that. But he did not put it together like he should have at Kentucky this past year. So I don't like him as the number one quarterback. I would take Bryce Young and I'd take C.J. Stroud over him. I see where guys like Mel Kiper fall in love with the intangibles, but I'm out on the idea of Will Levis personally as far as that number 5 pick goes for Seattle. Maybe at 20 potentially, but not at 5. And I can't stand Anthony Richardson. I think he sucks. Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are the 2 quarterbacks I have my eyes on here. Who's the best quarterback in this draft class? It's our pinned comment today. Let me know. What do you think? Who is the best quarterback? Give me a name who you believe. Could have been one of those 4 quarterbacks. Could have been somebody else. Let me know in the comment section below. Mark, again, checking in, says, that's what happens when the D is a hybrid. Pick a base and stick with it, Pete. You want to be aggressive and cover with our backers, but we simply don't have the horses. But this draft is saturated. A great word, according to Jeremy Chuggs, one of his favorites, in D talent. So he's talking about Puna Ford is what Mark's referring to, as we talked about him in a video earlier this week of what Puna Ford brought to the table this past year in Seattle, where he kind of underperformed of sorts, that he was overworked and they never found that consistency of sorts for him. And, Mark, I agree. I mean, this defense, it was so inconsistent. When it was on, it was on. And then when it was off, it was just simply off. And so as you find more players that fit the scheme of what Clint Hurt wants to do, and this draft should help with that, then I think that you'll have less guys out of place potentially on that front as far as that goes. So that's the way I look at it there. Duke to God writes, #Seahawks, do you think we need a better QB? And I bring in Jeremy Chuggs here with me for this question, as they want to hear directly from Chuggsy. Chuggsy, welcome to the show. What do you think? Geno had a good year.
Yeah.
Could they do better than that?
I think the play here is you keep Geno. You say, hey, we'll give you a 2-year deal. We'll give you fully guaranteed a 2-year deal. He's earned it from this past year of how he played and how admirably he played. He said, hey, Geno, we're going to give you a 2-year deal, fully guaranteed. We're going to bring in a young guy to have you kind of mentor him, do that, Obviously, if you play great in these 2 years, we'll extend you another year or 2 fully guaranteed. Or you franchise tag Geno. But I think at this point, there's no QB on the open market that I'd have rather than Geno. I mean, I don't want Derek Carr over Geno. I don't want Jimmy G over Geno.
You don't want Lamar Jackson.
Well, I mean, if Lamar Jackson hits free agency, that's one thing. But then you also have to pay him bukus of money. Lamar Jackson wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. And you want to go ahead and, spend all that money on a guy that's been hurt that often?
Right.
I don't think so. So I think where you are right now, obviously you want a better quarterback, but
I would say this to add to your point. I'm not looking to add to another quarterback that's already in the league. But
Yeah.
I'm totally open to the idea of drafting
Yes.
and bringing in a guy that way that might be better than Geno at some point, but maybe not necessarily as better than Geno right now.
And a crazy stat this year. Crazy stat. The top 4 paid quarterbacks in the league this year did not make the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. None of them made the playoffs. All 4 of the top 4 paid quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, it's a great point. And this year, no playoff wins from Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, which is crazy.
And see, it just goes to prove you don't have to spend the most to get a quality product.
Right.
Just like this deal from Fanatics, Tyler.
Yeah, it's a great deal. You can save over 25% off on this T-shirt combo. And with 2023 around the corner, you guys know the Seahawks are going to be rocking at some point this upcoming season the throwbacks to the old AFC days. And so you might as well get ahead on the action and get yours now while supplies last. Take advantage of this deal with these T-shirts over 25% off. Get yours now. Chatsports.com/Seahawks combo. Start saving today. Rock out with your Hawk out, and you'll be glad you did. Matthew writes, trade D. Eskridge for a late third-round pick. I don't know who's giving up a third-round pick for D. Eskridge, but I am more than okay, Matthew. And I like the profile pic, by the way. Sexy with a bit of gangster. Matthew, I am more than okay with the idea of moving on from D. Eskridge personally. And, I don't think you're getting a third, but 6th at the most. I think you'll take that personally. Whatever you can get, because D. Eskridge can't stay healthy. He hasn't played great when he has been on the football field. But, yes, it might be time to move on. Temper writes, who should the Seahawks sign in free agency? Very good question as far as who they should sign in free agency. We did a whole video on this on Tuesday, breaking down the top 40 free agent targets potentially for the Seahawks. And just like with the draft, I would look at defensive talent potentially for the Seahawks of who they would look at. And for me, I would say, Deron Payne is going to be a guy that's a free agent. Marcus Davenport is going to be a free agent. Those type of players potentially are the ones I'd be looking at. But I'll say this. Here's my caveat to all of this. The Seahawks have 9 draft picks, right? And they already have a young team. This is not a team that I think is trying to throw some Band-Aids on and hope for a Super Bowl run. This is still about the long term and building forward with this young group. I still prioritize the draft over free agency and then potentially spend money after that. Figure out what you can find in the draft first, then go to free agency from there. In a perfect world, give me your dream free agent target for the Seahawks. Who is it? Give me a name that's a free agent out there that seems like the perfect choice for this Seahawks team. Let me know in the comment section who comes to mind who your dream free agent target is. Chat Sports legend, the Pass Master, checking in. #Seahawks. Tyler, I think you guys get a few key positions on defense taken care of, and then you guys are good. Maybe a better wide receiver 3. What say you? Yeah, you look at this Seahawks team, as young as they are, it's about tweaking things. And no one's ever going to be perfect. No one is. But I think you'll look at it this way. The offensive line needs some upgrades at the guard and the center spot. The defensive line obviously can get better. The linebacking core, you're going to be without Jordan Brooks for most of the next year. And I would like to upgrade over Cody Barton personally. Corner, we're going to see Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant continue to develop. You can get away with Mike Jackson there. The safety spots, Quandre Diggs is still playing pretty good football. You'll get Jamal Adams back. Ryan Neal is also going to be back. You could still draft there potentially. So, sure, there's places you could get better. You're good enough to get by in certain spots, but you can get better in others if that makes sense. So, I agree, Passmaster. Raw Hector, do you see any coaching changes this offseason in Seattle? Sean Desai, who I believe his official title, if I remember correctly, is one of the lead assistant coaches. I believe he's associate head coach is his official title, and then defensive assistant. He's going to be looked at for several jobs to move on and be defensive coordinator. Personally, I would like him at DC over Clint Hurts, but I don't see any changes there. I think that's really about the only change. I think for the most part, you're going to see this entire staff come back in place pretty much as is. I was impressed with Shane Waldron, what he was able to do with his offense this year, the way he developed Geno Smith. And Shane Waldron's name hasn't come up for any head coaching jobs at this point in time. I think the staff, for the most part, is pretty much going to stay in place as is. Crystal ball time. Quick question. Who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? Man, it's interesting, isn't it? With the Seahawks out, now we get to just kind of sit back and watch everybody else. I will be rooting hard against the Niners and the Cowboys. It's unfortunate somebody gets to win that football game. Who do you think wins it all? For me, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles, personally. What say you? Let me know in the comment section below. Mark checks back in, says, gross thought. Do you think Lamar Jackson might end up with the Rams? They're always trading for star players. Okay, Mark, here's the one thing. Although Lamar sounds like a move the Rams would make, remember the whole F them picks thing? They don't have any draft capital. They got nothing. I mean, they don't have the assets to bring in Lamar Jackson. I mean, you'd have to package Matt Stafford. And then what are you going to send? Like a 2025 or 2030 first-round pick? So although it sounds like something the Rams would do, they don't have the draft picks to make this happen, a trade like that. So I see where you're coming from, but I would be shocked as could be if the Rams somehow ended up with Lamar Jackson just because they don't have the assets for it, at least right now. Get Right says, should Seattle get another running back to pair with Kenneth Walker? Yes, they should. I don't think that Rashad Penny's coming back next year. I think Rashad's gone. He's going to be a free agent. I'd be surprised if they re-signed him. And I don't like the idea of signing guys in free agency, guys to a second contract. I'm looking at options in the draft. I think your number 2 running back can be a day 3 guy, like a Deuce Vaughn or something like that to that effect. To me, that's what I'm looking for is a day 3 caliber pick to be that second running back. You need another running back, but I don't expect it to be somebody in free agency. As always, you can follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, at Tyler Jones Live, talking about your Seattle Seahawks on those social media platforms, and I will see you next time right here on Seahawks Today. All right, crystal ball time. Who will win the Super Bowl this year? You heard my pick there. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I think they take down the Kansas City Chiefs in the Andy Reid Bowl. What about you, Jeremy?
I mean, you're all about the birds.
Birds! Fly, Eagles, fly.
As long as an aviation bird can make it to the Super Bowl, Tyler's going to be happy.
I got Hart says Cowboys, Ed says 49ers.
Heart, our boss, man. Our CEO says Hart, Cowboys,
James Yoder
Ed,
checking in.
49ers. I don't know. I mean, they're playing this week. I had Bengals, Eagles in my Super Bowl. I don't know if that'll happen. Yeah. But I mean, anything's possible. Jags could have a Jags Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think whoever it is, if it's the Cowboys versus anybody versus the Jags, they'd be like all time.
Right?
Like, bang, Joe Burrow.
It all depends on if Trevor Lawrence can jag off.
Jagging off. Oh, man. Mark says the Bills.
Thank you, Passmaster. You're a real one.
Drizzy says Dallas. 10-23. FFG says Bills. Let's see. What else we got in the chat? Troy says Niners. Nicholas says Cowgirls aren't getting past the Niners.
That's going to be a tough game.
It will be a tough game. What is your Super Bowl pick?
But at the same time, I thought DK in the Seahawks wide receiving core kind of got a little bit of, at least in the first half, kind of got the best of the 49ers secondary. Charvarius Ward could not hold DK in that first half.
Yeah.
And I wonder if CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and some of those Cowboys receivers are going to be able to do the same thing. I don't know. Cowboys have a little bit more of an experienced O-line. I wonder if that'll help them against the 49ers pass rush, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when rubber meets the road.
Let's see. Nicholas says going to be Niners and Bengals. Blake says Bengals for sure. Let's see. Matthew says Bengals all the way.
All the way.
Okay. So I didn't know that there was a crossover between Bengals and Seahawk fans apparently in this chat today.
Bengals said we're finally gonna exercise those demons from the 80s.
Mark makes a good point. No rookie quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl. Niners aren't going or winning.
I don't know. There's always a first for everything. Before Johnny Manziel, there was never a freshman to win the Heisman. Since then, we've had a couple, right?
Yeah. Drizzy says, I want the Eagles. Duke says Bills versus Eagles. Gilbert Tom says Bengals all the way.
If we're going with the team that played the best during the whole season, it's going to be the Eagles. But at the same time, you never know. Because whenever the playoff happens, it's one game. You never know what's going to happen.
And the Eagles didn't finish their best.
When the Giants won the Super Bowl, they were not the best team in the NFL that season.
Oh, hell no.
You know? They were the 6th seed.
What's Patrick Seekman doing right now?
He's live on Giants, I believe.
When Seeps gets a moment, I want him to come by and show off the jersey that Mark Sanchez sent in.
Oh, yeah. He was wearing it on our Vikings stream.
So Mark sent him an original Randy Moss Vikings jersey. Vikings are eliminated now.
He was loving it.
Oh, it looked good.
He was wearing it on the live stream. He shouted. I don't know if you saw it. He was shouting you out on the live stream, Mark. He could not be more happy. I mean, it was like watching a kid on Christmas.
It was. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So if we might have to get Seeps in here when he gets the second to show off that jersey. We got a $2 super chat from Mark. It's so funny. Mark will drop a $500 last week and then humbly throws a $2 super chat. I love what Mark does with this show. Will The Last of Us be better than GOT?
Game of Thrones. Have you seen Game of Thrones?
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't actually thinking we were going to talk Game of Thrones today. That's why I hesitated for a second.
The Last of Us, based on a video game.
I liked Game of Thrones. It is going to be hard to top Game of Thrones, although that last season was terrible.
Did you watch House of the Dragon?
I haven't watched it yet.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
But we all knew when Game of Thrones ended with all the success that it had that they were going to do some spin-off series of some sorts. The Last of Us, I mean,
it looks good.
I think that's a unrealistic expectation to ask anything to be better than Game of Thrones.
Both on HBO, The Last of Us, the video game's extremely popular. I personally don't play it. Oh, yeah, Mark, we appreciate that. He said the Moss jersey needed to go to a big Vikings fan.
And he's a big Viking fan.
He's huge. But I'm excited to see it, too, because it should be a good show.
Right.
It should be a good show. HBO, whenever they put all their money behind it, you know the theatrics at least are going to be amazing.
So my favorite show on television is on HBO. It's Succession. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Succession is phenomenal. Mark, let me know if you've seen Succession. I'm looking forward. Season 4 comes out sometimes this spring and is just absolutely incredible television. Literally a perfect show. And as a media guy in particular, to me, it's very fascinating watching Succession and what it brings to the table. That is my favorite show on TV. HBO, though, I mean, you're talking about Game of Thrones, Succession. I love The Newsroom. I mean, all the best shows.
Huge.
Jeremy.
White Lotus?
White Lotus.
You're a huge John Oliver guy. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, all the best shows are on Hell's box office.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
And you get to see boobs. I knew he wouldn't get it.
Mark says, I played The Last of Us 1 and 2. The first episode was amazing, true to the game story.
I need to watch it. I need to watch it because I've heard a lot of good things and that it's going to be a great show. The only thing, Mark, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Well, trust me, we're going to get into this Seahawks mock draft in just a second. The only thing is, I don't know if I'm the only one like this. I like watching a show once all the episodes are out. I hate, and maybe I'm spoiled because, streaming services like Netflix, HBO, Hulu, and all that. I hate having to wait a week to figure out what happens. If I'm like hooked on a show, I want to see what happens right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. Real quick, let's show the happy hour menu. We're at $47. We're about 103 away from another version of Das Boot, the first of the offseason. Mark, I am mailing this to you tomorrow, but I would love to add some more individuals to Das Boot. I got a few things actually to send to Mark tomorrow. I've been behind on that. My apologies. We'll send that out tomorrow. $150, so about 103 away from Das Boot. So it's quite the deal right now. You send in 100, you get a spot on Das Boot, and we take down the boot. $10 to take a shot. $5 we sing the DK song. $2 you can ask me or Jeremy Chugs anything. Any super chat equals a shout out. Right now, though, it is time for mock draft numero uno of the Seahawks offseason. Chugsy, are we ready to go? This is a big moment.
Wait.
Seeps,
come here.
Okay.
Do you have the Randy Moss jersey on you?
No, I don't.
Oh, no!
Well, come over here.
Look at his jacket. That's not a Randy Moss jersey.
Oh, no.
Is it on?
We got a
Right here.
Mark Sanchez was saying he needed to give the Randy Moss jersey to a huge
Hey, Seeps.
Vikings fan, and he was just happy that he gave it to you.
Mark, I appreciate it.
He's in the chat right now. He wanted to say,
Mark, it made my year. Like, honestly, best part about this job has been you sending me the Randy Moss jersey. Thank you. Now I gotta go smoke Lonzo.
our motto here at work: you come for the work, you stay for the clusters.
Yes. Mock draft time. Now, here on Seahawks Today. We'll break that down here. Yes, but I'm sorry that he wasn't wearing the jersey today, but we'll make that happen very soon here on the show. Mock draft time. Let's get after it. The moment you've all been waiting for. The first Seattle Seahawks mock draft of the 2023 offseason is on the way. We'll bring that to you here in just a few moments from right now. Tyler Jones here on Seahawks Today. Glad to have you with us. Before we get to the first mock draft, I want to know, who is the Seahawks' greatest draft pick of all time? Open-ended question. No judgment. There's no wrong answers here. Let me know in the comment section. Give me your honest thoughts. Who is the greatest draft pick of all time by the Seahawks in the comment section below, and we'll get started with today's show. Mock draft number one. So let me explain kind of how this works before we dive into the picks. So I went into Pro Football Focus's draft simulator and let them make the picks for the other teams, and then I picked based on who was available, based on their selections. I played the role as John Schneider. Put it this way, John Schneider and Pete Carroll got food poisoning. They asked me to fill in. So that's essentially the role I did of this. No trades involved, but nonetheless, here are the picks for Seattle. They have 2 picks in the first round, 5 and 20. And they also have 2 picks in the second round at 37 and 51. Third round at 83. Fourth round, Seattle picks at 122. Fifth round at 152. And then just a couple slots later at 155. And then their final pick is 195, which means the Seahawks do not have a 7th round pick. So 9 picks within the first 6 rounds. Pretty incredible. So the first 4 picks of the draft, here is who's off the board in this simulation first. The Bears end up with the number 1 overall pick, and they go with Will Anderson, the edge rusher out of Alabama. A big surprise in this mock draft simulation. The Texans take Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. Now, here's something that's interesting about that, is that Will Levis is the number 1 quarterback on Mel Kiper's big board. So maybe the Texans listen to Kiper there. Jalen Carter goes to the Cardinals at 3. And then the Colts with the number 4 pick takes Bryce Young from Alabama. So here is who's on the board, the best available options for the Seahawks. C.J. Stroud, Miles Murphy, Tyree Wilson, Brian Bresee, Paris Johnson Jr., just some of the notable players that are available for the Seahawks at this spot. And what have I told you? That when I looked at this number 5 pick, that the Seahawks could go with, there's 5 players in particular I like for that spot. C.J. Stroud, Miles Murphy, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. And here they are in this spot with 2 of those guys on the board. Before I give my answer, though, that's what we call a tease in the biz. Who should Seattle draft with the number 5 overall pick? This is our pinned comment today. Let me know in the comment section. Who should they draft? Give me one name who they should draft with that number 5 pick. Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. With the 5th pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. I couldn't pass on C.J. Stroud. He's available at 5. To me, this is one of those situations where I understand the Seahawks are good with Geno Smith, but I can't pass on a top 5 quarterback in this scenario. Second-team All-American, a Heisman finalist, the number 2 quarterback according to Todd McShay, number 4 player overall, led Ohio State to the college football playoff. He has all the intangibles, everything that you'd want when it comes to size, athleticism, arm talent, accuracy. It is all there with C.J. Stroud. I still think in this scenario, you bring Geno Smith back and you don't play C.J. Stroud until he is ready to go. Here's what Todd McShay had to say about C.J. Stroud. Stroud has excellent instincts and shows solid decision-making. He sees the entire field at an NFL level and trusts his fast eyes. While his ball placement is in a bit inconsistent at times, Stroud has a large catalog of remarkably accurate throws under pressure, and his touch and timing are outstanding. He has a smooth delivery with good arm strength. So that's the breakdown on C.J. Stroud, the Ohio State quarterback who I have the Seahawks taking in this mock draft simulation. So if it was up to you, do you agree with my decision? It's okay if you hate this decision. You can be honest with me and tell me in the comment section. If you were given the same circumstance that I was just given, would you have done the same thing and drafted C.J. Stroud? If so, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. Let me know in the comment section, Y for yes, in for no, if you would draft C.J. Stroud there as well. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You know, we've all been on the job market before, and with LinkedIn Jobs, people like me can get a job here at Chat Sports. I can get hired. They can find quality candidates here at Chat Sports. Look, you may be wondering, well, how do I do it? You can add your jobs in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free, linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. All right, moving on now. Let's go to the second first-round pick for the Seattle Seahawks. This pick comes at number 20. We took care of our quarterback of the future with C.J. Stroud. What will this team do next? Well, the last 4 picks, the Commanders ended up taking Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. Zay Flowers, the wide receiver from Boston College, goes to the Steelers. Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma, ends up with the Lions. And then Nolan Smith, the edge rusher from Georgia, ends up with the Bucs. So, still available for the Seahawks at the number 20 spot. Quentin Johnson, a star receiver from TCU. Bijan Robinson, an excellent running back from the University of Texas, the best running back we've seen in the draft in years. Then there's JSN, Jackson Smith, the wide receiver from Ohio State, who is absolutely terrific. Jordan Addison, another really good receiver from USC. And then Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle from Georgia. So plenty of good players here with this number 20 pick. Before I reveal my pick, though, who do you think the Seahawks should take with the 20th overall pick in this circumstance? Who are you going to go with this draft selection? Let me know in the comments section who your draft pick is at number 20. We are your NFL Draft headquarters here at Chat Sports with daily Seattle Seahawks news and rumors. We're going to cover the latest happenings with the draft, trades, free agency, and more. Smash that sub button as we count you down to the draft. I can tell you this right now. This will not be the last mock draft we do. We still have more of these to go as we move along here. Subscribe to the channel now for the latest happenings on the Seahawks. With the 20th pick, the Seattle Seahawks select TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnston. In this simulation, I had no idea that Quentin Johnston was still going to be available at this point. To me, that's another situation. I understand you have DK Metcalf and you have Tyler Lockett, but I can't pass on Quentin Johnston if he's still hanging around at 20. A two-time first-team All-Big 12 player. Todd McShay has him as the number 1 wide receiver in this draft class and the number 12 overall player, and he's still around at 20. I can't say no to that. Helped lead TCU to their first ever college football playoff appearance, and he was spectacular. Go watch the highlight film if you haven't seen it from that Michigan game. He was absolutely unstoppable. He is a lethal weapon, I can tell you that. And Seahawk fans would be thrilled if you could get Quentin Johnston at that number 20 spot. Todd McShay had this to say about Johnston. Johnston can stretch the field with his speed and has the body control and catching radius to win 50-50 balls. He is dangerous after the catch. That's what separates him from most 6'4" receivers. And he flashes good contact balance. 24 missed tackles on receptions, 5th in the country. That combined with his ability to win on contested catches because of his length and has earned him wide receiver 1 status. Should Seattle draft Quentin Johnston? What do you think? If he's around there at that pick, I can't pass him up. Am I right on that? What do you think? Should they take him? If you think they should. Type D for draft. Type P for pass. Let me know what you're feeling in the comments section below. All right, I know the Seahawks have to prioritize defense, and I understand we used our 2 first-round picks on offense, but stay with me here, folks. We're going to still take care of the defense, and that's why we are going to start with drafting with the number 37 pick, none other than Kalijah Kancey, the defensive lineman from Pittsburgh, a unanimous All-American, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Remember, this school's got good pedigree when it comes to defensive linemen. Ever heard of a guy named Aaron Donald? Yeah, he also went there as well. 2022 sacks, 2022 stats at 31 tackles, 14.5 TFLs, and 7.5 sacks. Just a monster. Pat Narduzzi, the head coach at Pitt, called him the best defensive tackle he's ever coached at any level whatsoever. He is just built differently and would be, I think, a huge asset to this Seahawks team. If they can find him there in the second round, this is somebody that I think is a potential for a first-round talent and still available in the second round. We'll take it. Then we move on to the second-round pick at 51, and that's when I'm going with Jack Campbell, the linebacker out of Iowa. Jack Campbell, a terrific football player. We already know the Seahawks are going to be without Jordan Brooks for most of next year. We wonder about Cody Barton's future. Jack Campbell slides in, a unanimous All-American. He won a number of awards this past season, a tackling machine. 125 tackles last year, a sack, forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. This is somebody that I think could come in right away and be a big impact player for the Seahawks from day one. Watch out. Jack Campbell, I think, could be a very good fit for the Seattle Seahawks. And then we move on to round number 3. We're going to go defense again. We're going to keep adding defensive players for the Seahawks, and that is where we stay actually in the Big Ten Conference and go with Jair Brown, the safety out of Penn State with the 83rd pick overall. And Brown is a guy that you look at the Seahawks team. Remember, yes, you have Quandre Diggs coming back more than likely, although you could cut him potentially and save some cash, but he's still there. Jamal Adams should be coming off of injury. Ryan Neal's coming off a good year. But time is still limited with those guys. Beyond this upcoming year, you don't know how much longer you'll have all those guys there. Brown is a guy that could be around, I think, for a long time. 2023, he was the Rose Bowl MVP on defense, had 74 tackles this past season, 4.5 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Not just a defending threat, but also a physical football player that's not afraid of contact. Was also a 2-time third-team All-Big Ten selection in 21 and 2022. Really good player. I like what Brown could bring to this Seahawks defense there on that front. What could Brown do for you? I like the idea of bringing him to town. Let me know in the comment section. Name a sleeper you want the Seahawks to draft this year. Who comes to mind? Whether it's somebody we've talked about or who've not talked about, let me know in the comment section of a sleeper that could fit this Seattle Seahawks team here in the 2023 draft. All right, let's move on to the 4th round now. And the Seahawks, we know they need help at the guard spot. That's where we draft our first offensive lineman with the 122nd pick, and that is Antonio Mafi from UCLA with this selection. And then we fast forward to the 152nd pick, and this one is in the 5th round. We end up going with edge rusher Derek Parrish from the University of Houston. And then we get to the later in the 5th round, and this pick I really, really like at 155, and that is Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. The Deuce is loose in Seattle, straight out of Manhattan, Kansas. Deuce Vaughn, to me, would be a steal in the 5th round if you can get him there. I get it, he's a little undersized, but he's got all the speed. He can be used as a return specialist. He is a dynamic threat. As somebody that is a Big 12 football fan like myself, I am so glad that this guy is moving on to the National Football League, that we don't have to deal with him anymore, because he was just a problem for every team he faced. A 2-time consensus All-American, rushed for nearly 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. And he kind of reminds me of another Kansas State running back, Darren Sproles. I mean, at that 5'6" frame with that speed, with being able to use to be a return man too, and his pass-catching ability as well, I think Seattle, you're thrilled if you can find the great one like Deuce Vaughn available this late in the draft. I would love to pair him up with Kenneth Walker and have a thunder and lightning combination of sorts in your backfield. Then the final selection for the Seahawks at 193, going back to the offensive line. This guy, I'm shocked he's still available here in the 6th round, and that is Ricky Stromberg, the center from the University of Arkansas. We know Seattle needs some help at the center position. I don't know if Stromberg's ready right away as a 6th-round pick to get immediate playing time, but he could be somebody that earns it and is on the football field maybe even by the end of the year potentially. Lou Pig Suey. We'll see if the Seahawks go there. So with that, the simulation in the books. To recap, the Seahawks get C.J. Stroud at 5. Quentin Johnson at 20. We move to the 2nd round, load up on some defensive guys like Cansey and Campbell. 3rd round, we stay with the defense, get Brown from Penn State, and then we wrap up day number 3, adding to our offensive line with Mafi as well as Stromberg. We also get Parrish as an edge rusher and Deuce Vaughn at running back to put him alongside Kenneth Walker. That's what I end up with this mock draft simulation. How did I do? My first mock draft. Mock draft 1.0. Give me a grade. Be honest with me. A, B, C, D, or F. How would you grade my first mock draft for Seattle? You can tell me if you hated it, you loved it, you're somewhere in between. Tell me in the comment section, A, B, C, or D, or F, how you would grade my first mock draft, considering, remember, this is a simulation. I had to go with what I was presented in the circumstance. Let me know in the comment section. You can interact with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. And I'll see you next time, right here on Seahawks Today. All right, checking the grades here. And I see Michael says B-. Duke says B. Drizzy minus says B-. Stoney says A, brother. Nick says D. What? Duke says B. Mark says F. What? Guys, what did you hate about my draft? That's not right. Come on now. Saijin says B-. Stoney says, I decided I can't decide yet. I don't know what that means. Jeff says C. Duke says B. Michael says C. Oh, Jason Myers got a new contract. Jason Myers is back, folks. New contract. The Seahawks are bringing back their kicker. Breaking news here on Seahawks Today. Will Scott telling us what's going on there. Okay. Is somebody going to push that out while we do that last mailbag? Okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. We'll do this mailbag, guys. Nick says you went offense with the first two picks. Stoney, I did take a center with that 6th-round pick. Mark says no O-lineman until the 4th. They went with 2 offensive tackles last year. And it was best available. I had to deal with the circumstance, what I was given. You expected just a pass on C.J. Stroud? Come on down. One more mailbag coming up. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to skip the line. If C.J. Stroud's at 5, I'm not passing on Stroud. Quentin Johnson at 20? He's not supposed to last till 20. I can't say no to that. Stoney says nice. Okay. Yes, I did take a center. Michael says in this scenario, would Seattle have addressed the D-line in free agency? Potentially. You know, that's all depends on. Nick says he would pass on Stroud. I can't if he's available at 5. All right, mailbag time. Let's go ahead and get after it. Send in your questions using hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat. We'll just make this one real quick. Just roll through. Yep, perfect. All right. Mailbag time here on Seahawks Today. Let's go ahead and get started here. Time for another mailbag here on Seahawks Today. Tyler Jones here with you to answer the questions that you have this week. And you may be wondering, how do I take part in the mailbag shows? Well, we do them each and every week on our live shows. And here's why you need to subscribe to Seahawks Today. We have Seahawks videos every day, live shows each and every week, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We are so interactive. We love hanging out with the 12s every day on the channel. And the more subscribers that we have, the more we can grow this channel and keep this thing on going and provide you guys more content. Best part about it, it's all free. So why would you not subscribe? If you love the Seahawks, you want more Seahawks coverage, subscribe now. We'll get started with today's show. Still Flying says, would you trade up to get Will Anderson? It all depends on what I would have to give up potentially. I don't like the idea of giving up the number 20 pick. To me, it's very rare when you have 2 first-round picks. And to me, this is a unique circumstance, a unique opportunity for Seattle to have those 2 first-round picks. It would just all depend. Do I have to give up 20 to move up to get Will Anderson? I don't know. I love Will Anderson. If you've been watching this show for a while, you guys know that he is my favorite player in this draft. But I just don't know about the idea of giving up 2 first-round picks to do it, if that makes sense. I want to know, what's your dream draft target for Seattle? Is it Will Anderson? Is it Bryce Young? C.J. Stroud? Who is your dream draft target for the Seahawks? Let us know in the comments section below. Matthew writes, if Clint Hurt is fired, who do we get as our defensive coordinator? Clint Hurt, I think, will not be fired at this point. Today, is Wednesday at the time that we're taping this, and the Seahawks season ended on Saturday. I think they would have moved on from him by now. But the number one name that comes to mind is right there internally in-house, Sean Desai, moving up. He's been looked at for a number of jobs already, potentially as a defensive coordinator elsewhere. He's well respected. Seahawks fans love what he brings to the table. I think that's the direction they lean, is some in-house internally promote Sean Desai to be defensive coordinator. But I think Clint Hurt's going to be back despite how disappointing the defense was. Mark writes, gross thought. Do you think Lamar Jackson might end up with the Rams? They're always trading for star players. No, I don't see Lamar Jackson ending up with the Rams because they don't have the draft capital. They don't have the guys to make such move to bring Lamar over to Los Angeles. That can't be done for this Rams team. So, yeah, that sounds like something that would be up their alley, but this just doesn't work. The math does not add up for the Rams to make a move like that. Click wants to know, I think Noah Fant could break out next year and be a top 5 tight end. I had high hopes for Noah Fant this year. I thought he was going to take that next step this past season, and it just didn't happen. He's got a lot of raw talent, a lot of athleticism that he brings to the table, but it just didn't happen for Noah Fant this year. And so with that, I don't have the confidence that he will take that next step because if it was going to happen, it should have happened this year, and it didn't. I like him. I think that there's a lot of good things about Noah Fant, but the fact that he didn't take this step this past year does not make me confident about his future being a top 5 tight end. Jersey says, what's the best scenario at pick number 5? The best scenario is that Will Anderson falls at a number 5 or Jalen Carter falls to the Seahawks at number 5. I think that's your best case scenario for this team. And, we did a mock draft earlier this week, and the simulations, if you'd go to a simulator like what Pro Football Focus has or the Draft Network or all these, and of your consensus top 5, which in no particular order for me, is Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, Myles Murphy, C.J. Stroud, and Bryce Young. In almost every one of these simulated mock drafts, somebody in that 5 is available for Seattle there. And so in an ideal world, you just take whatever is available, and somebody good is still going to fall your lap. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. Go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code Seahawks125. You'll get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down. You get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet. You can bet on NFL action this weekend. You can also bet on NBA, college basketball, and the 125% deposit bonus. You put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. It's like buying a pizza and then getting another pizza and then a couple extra slices for free. It's a great deal. Sign up today, chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. Gil Turner writes, could J.J. Watt come out of retirement and sign with the Seahawks? Gil, that's an interesting question. J.J. Watt had a great career, and he retired saying that he knows that he still has some football left in him at this point in time, that he feels like that he can still play at a high level, and he's walking away from the game content, put it that way. And I know Arizona's a mess and everything with that organization. I think there's really only one team that J.J. Watt would come back and play for, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers, where both of his brothers are at. And I think that would be pretty badass. That'd be awesome if he did play with his brothers in Pittsburgh. But I don't see him coming back to Seattle and joining this team or anyone other than Pittsburgh at this point. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of J.J. Watt coming out of retirement, but I don't think it's to play for Seattle. I think it's Pittsburgh or it's no one else. But we'll see. He still has a lot of time to potentially change his decision between now and when the season starts next year. Remember, Tom Brady changed his decision within 40 days and decided to come back. Should the Seahawks sign J.J. Watt? What do you think? If he was available and wanted to come out of retirement, would you like to see J.J. in Seattle? If so, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. Let me know what you're thinking in the comment section. Y for yes, in for no if you would want to sign J.J. Watt. Duke wants to know, should Seattle sign a wide receiver in free agency? Potentially. The guy I really like is Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is going to be a free agent, the wide receiver from the New England Patriots. You also have, in this free agent period, Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be a free agent. McCole Hardman is going to be a free agent. The wide receiver market isn't as good as it was last year, but there are some guys available. And I think the Seahawks are still trying to find their number 3 receiver. There's a significant gap when you go beyond DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But I would more so like to see them draft and go that route for that number 3 receiver, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of them finding it through free agency. Next question. Geno, 3 years, $70 million with $60 million guaranteed. First year, $35 million with $30 guaranteed. Second year, $25 million with $20 guaranteed, and last year is $10 million and fully guaranteed. By then, he might be letting the new quarterback thrive in the end. Thoughts? Okay, there's a lot to break down there. But to put it simply, 3 years, $70 million with $60 guaranteed. That number does seem a bit high from the projections that we have kind of talked about, that we've showed you from Sporting News and others. I think the number that Seattle is looking at for Geno is the $20 to $25 million range at this point. The longer it goes, though, if you let him go to the open market, there's enough desperate teams that price could go up potentially. So I would love to reward Geno. I think he's done a hell of a job this past season, but that number might be a little bit high. Part of the reason you moved on from Russell Wilson was you don't want to pay a quarterback a whole lot of money, in all honesty. So I don't know about that. The great one, Mark Sanchez, checks back in with a $20 super chat. Oh, I honestly think that 3 quarterbacks will be taken to the top 5, but we won't be one of those teams. Teams that are desperate for a QB, overreach in the draft, Trubisky, Rosen, Gabbert, etc., leaving us with Carter or Anderson. That'd be awesome. That'd be great if it worked out the way it did. You guys know what I've said for quite some time, that Will Anderson is my number 1 choice. I like Jalen Carter, number 2. But if both those guys are gone and C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young are still available, then I'm going C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young if those 2 are gone. If you can end up with one of those 4 with that 5 pick, I think you're cooking with bacon grease at that point. You're feeling pretty good. G writes in, I think Jamal Adams should move to linebacker next season and we draft or sign another safety. That could happen. With the way Ryan Neal came along, and I think Pro Football Focus had him as one of the top-rated safeties this year, that could make sense and get Ryan Neal more playing time. Quandre Diggs, you still have around, of course, and Jamal Adams, I just don't know if I can trust his health, what exactly he brings to the table. If you bring him to linebacker, I would put it this way. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get too excited necessarily just because we haven't been able to trust Jamal Adams to be healthy out there. True or false? The Seahawks should move Jamal Adams to linebacker. What do you guys think? T for true, F for false. Let me know in the comment section below. Alex Tyler writes, will Shane Waldron get a head coaching job this offseason? I don't think so. His name has not come up at all for other jobs. Hasn't interviewed for anything. I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. I think he will be a head coach one day, but it doesn't look like this go-around is his time. That there's other coaches that are being looked at. for said jobs right now? Alex, it's a good question, but barring something changing drastically, it seems like that Shane Waldron is going to be back in Seattle's OC next year. Any free agent linebackers the Seahawks could sign? I don't know if they necessarily go the linebacker route, but I do like defensive linemen. That's who I'm watching for in particular for Seattle, of what they could bring to the table with Daron Payne, with Marcus Davenport. Those are guys I'm looking at. Linebacker, you got Edmonds, the linebacker from the Bills. There's a couple other guys there, but I don't know if they spend money at linebacker necessarily, but I could see them spending on the defensive line as far as that goes. So thanks for joining us here on another Mailbag Show. You can follow me on social media, Tyler Jones Live, and we will see you next time right here on Seahawks Today. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We got you covered. All your draft insights, free agency, and trades. This is the place to be. If you love your Seattle Seahawks, subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. All right, Jeremy Chuggs is back here with me.
All right, we have two shots.
Two shots to pay off. I'll take one.
Mark
You take
Sanchez. We actually got to head out, though. Some news just broke. Jason Sanders is getting an extension.
Jason Myers.
Or Jason Myers. Wrong kicker named Jason. Sorry. Jason Myers is getting extended. The better Jason kicker.
Yes. So cheers. So
we
guys,
got to go push out that video.
we're going to push out a quick video. Be looking for that with a breakdown of Jason Myers' new contract. That's coming out here in just a few moments from right now. And we'll be back even throughout the offseason. We're still going to be with you each and every Wednesday right here on Seahawks Today, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. If you missed any of today's show, we'll post the videos throughout the week here on the channel, and we'll see you next time here on